Morning, Gamecock fans. Today is Tuesday, terrible Tuesday, June 10th, the year of our Lord 2025, and this is Coffee. Gonna be actually a short episode today. I know I say that sometimes, and then we go and go and go. But for some reason, the Zoom, which I record this podcast on, did not want to wake up this morning. Maybe Zoom had a hangover or something like that. This comes on top of the issues we had with StreamYard, where we do our live shows yesterday, and blah, 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 blah. So Tuesday has started off terribly for yours truly. Um, just briefly, College World Series is set. Uh, Gamecocks obviously aren't in it, so we won't spend too much time on it. But I did want to point out SEC only has two of the 8 teams this year. You got teams from the Sun Belt, West Coast Conference, Missouri Valley, one from the Big 12, one from the ACC, one from the Big 10. UCLA, it's really the Pac 12, right? But certainly, I think, in my opinion, I put this on X this morning, it's good for college baseball. And we care about college baseball around here, no matter how bad this season was. And the transfer portal class, obviously, under Paul Maneri, is looking really good right now. So maybe they'll get back. But I think this is good because if you get into a situation where it's all SEC every single year, people are going to stop caring. So, whatever. To the SEC is down, folks, whatever. There's probably a further discussion to be had about the impact of NIL on some of these teams too, but I'm not going to go there today. I'm going to start talking less about that because we're close to football season and we're right in the middle of college football recruiting. Kind of went through everything yesterday. KJ Johnson obviously commits to South Carolina, tall, lengthy corner from Birmingham Woodlawn. I think I've said it 3 or 4 times, including twice on the show yesterday. Once nobody heard. It happened in a wind tunnel. So good pickup there. That's the 8th commit of the class for the Gamecocks, and a lot of meat left on the bone. And that's kind of today's primary discussion: meat on the bone. Big old hunk of ribs or whatever. I don't eat ribs often. I'm picky about my ribs, but my buddy Joel actually makes really good ribs. And he has this sauce he calls sauce, SAWSE. Oh man, that guy, he makes some good ribs. Had some, gosh, went to his house for the Georgia game in '03 to football to watch it. Just hung out there with my buddy, drank beer and ate some of the ribs, and really, really good. Anywho, so meat on the bone left. We know all about some of the out-of-state guys. We know some of the biggest names in recruiting: Carter Meadows, Kerry Adams, Samari Matthews from Charlotte, all big targets, for the Gamecocks that they're in the thick of things for. Adams visited Michigan. They really sold him hard on the depth chart. Wink Martindale, their D coordinator, and his recruiter, Lamar Brown, or Lamar Morgan. His first name's Lamar. I didn't write that down. Anyway, so he visited there. Carter Meadows was at Penn State along with JB Shabazz, the other offensive tackle recruit for the Gamecocks. And, they had a good time up there. We don't know what's going to happen with that. I can also tell you things are looking really, really good for Kamari Blair, the offensive tackle out of Tennessee. So that's out of state. In state, it's a good class. 2026, we've kind of been pointing to this class. I've talked several times about how getting Donovan Murph and Jordan Gitteron, who were 2 top 100 players in the country for 2026 initially, to come in 2025 gives the Gamecocks a leg up. They did lose Anderson, the safety from Dorman, lifelong Clemson fan. Clemson still. I don't think Marquis Anderson getting him ended Clemson's ability to get players out of Dorman. And that's fine. Hey, look, South Carolina should get players out of Dutch Fork, right? Although they did lose Antonio Williams to Clemson a few years back. So it just happens. And he's a good player, great player. He was in Columbia actually yesterday with the rest of his teammates working out. But it is what it is. I mean, some guys grow up wanting to be Gamecocks. Some guys grow up wanting to be Tigers. Some guys grow up wanting to go out of state. And the idea is to bat a high percentage, like baseball. I hate to use a baseball analogy because it's if you 30% success rate is good. That's not probably not going to cut it in recruiting. But if you let's like maybe a free throw percentage, even the best free throw shooters in basketball miss. The idea is to shoot a high percentage, and you know, so you're going to miss sometimes, but that is to get the majority of it. And Carolina's done a good job of that in state for a while now. This class, though, 2026, even without Murph, without Gitteron, and with Anderson going to Clemson, is a deeper class than it has been. And you can tell with some of the other schools, the foot traffic in the state has been increased and all that. And I'm not saying these are better players necessarily than some of the guys that have not gotten the foot traffic that South Carolina signed through the years. These guys are just higher on the eval list, right? They're higher in the rankings. And not saying it doesn't matter because that means there's a higher percentage chance they'll work out. But a lot of offers, a lot of schools hitting South Carolina this time around. I think that's good because it creates, more blue chip prospects and things like that. But there are 5 primary in-state targets remaining. 6 if you count Tilden Riley, the tight end from Orangeburg Prep. So we'll include him. Vanderbilt's in the mix with him. Some other schools, South Carolina, I think could possibly end up getting him. I think that's he'll visit on the 20th, and we'll see there. I would think South Carolina would be in good shape for a tight end from Orangeburg. Really like the way he moves around, 6'5" guy, kind of play him as a slot receiver, or I'm sorry, split out receiver type. Good hands, moves around good. Yeah, so Carolina, good shape there. He's a 3-star prospect. We'll start with Julian Walker, and he's not on the official visit list, but I'm pretty sure he'll take an official visit at some point from over at Dutch Fork, the powerhouse program in our state now, high school football wise, as a Burns person. I guess several years ago, Burns passed the torch to Dutch Fork and Tommy Knotts, but they do a great job with their program. And Julian's dad obviously is on staff at South Carolina. He's about a 6'6", 240-pound edge, big priority guy. Is going to be a player that gets better and better as well. People ask me for comparisons that, guys like this, maybe Devin Taylor, maybe Desmond Umazulu, but a little bit more ready to go, maybe a little earlier in his career. Top 150 prospect. Visited Michigan. I feel like the Gamecocks are still in good shape here. He's quiet about his recruitment, kind of goes about his business under the radar a bit. I'm super duper proud of Hale McGranahan, who kind of spotted this guy, just honestly. Hale, getting after it. And this guy, I think he's got a shot to be really, really good. And South Carolina so obviously got the inside track right there. So I feel good about him. So put him in the feel good about bucket. Desmond Green from Timberland, and he's been back and forth. And if you follow the visits, Georgia obviously is a factor. I think it's Georgia and South Carolina. He's kind of quiet about his recruitment. He actually released a statement on X that said, "Stop calling me. I just want to focus on football." So, okay, that's all good. He's only rated like a 3-star guy. I think he's much better than that because he is big at 340 pounds, but you watch him and he can move and he's got an athletic build. I don't know that Georgia wouldn't sneak him over to defensive line at nose tackle. Probably not because they like these big 340-pound guys on the interior, obviously. But I don't know, like they did with Jordan Davis from Charlotte a few years ago, he's a 3-star offensive lineman from Charlotte, and they made him into an NFL player at zero technique. Georgia is a factor when he visited. I think he had a great visit. Before that, I was told South Carolina was in front, and it goes back and forth behind the scenes, folks. That's what, just because you don't hear anything and he's not doing interviews, doesn't mean South Carolina's out or anything like that. He'll visit on the 20th. That's a critical visit because I don't know that the Gamecocks lead for him right now within the state. But, if you pay attention to the JC Shurburtt recruiting doctrine. Um, my theory is that Georgia will come across the border and get somebody Carolina wants. It's inevitable. They're too close. They're too good. It's happened for decades. The idea is you don't want them to get you don't want them to get somebody that you really, really want. You don't want to lose AJ Green like they did during the Spurrier era. Somebody that could really hurt you. And Desmond could hurt the Gamecocks. Don't get me wrong. Hell, I think Tyrion Ingram Dawkins and Xavier McLeod obviously went through the portal method of getting there, but the South Carolina players they do take end up being good. So I'm not trying to say Desmond Green isn't good or anything, but it's not AJ Green like a high profile position that's going to start catching 60 balls as a true freshman type of deal. But they inevitably they'll go get somebody, and it just happens. And so the idea is to limit the damage. And so if it's Desmond Green, this is the next Georgia guy that's going to cross the border. The last one out of high school is Monroe Freeling, who really didn't have much interest in either in-state school from Oceanside Collegiate down on the coast. And he started some this year at offensive tackle. So Desmond Green, as far as how you feel about it, I feel about it. I have a question mark written down up in the air. But I like that South Carolina does have the last visit. NIL could be a factor here too, just based on the feedback I've gotten from someone that's familiar with the situation. The next guy, Clinton offensive tackle, Trey Aiken. Now, it's interesting. Michael Clark, who I've known for years, respect, have a lot of admiration for from our NC State site, put in a crystal ball for state the other day after his visit. They're all over him. The Gamecocks have been all over him, too. He's a guard / tackle, maybe. In-state kid from right up the road in Clinton. Carolina already has a commitment from Newberry and 4-star tight end Jamel House. And so would Aiken be, would they hit the I-26 double play there? Being from Spartanburg, Clinton and Newberry, those are the two exits, right? You stop at one, stop at the other. And then you get into the P area, Pomeria, Prosperity, the P towns. And then you're in Chapin. And then, here we are. You see the water tower when you're coming in up the mall up there, Harbison Boulevard. Anyway, so the crystal ball to NC State was interesting. South Carolina's in on a lot of offensive linemen. Sometimes this may mean the perceived favorite for a while. I don't want to say backs off, but sometimes it does mean that. I'm not saying it means that. I think what happened, maybe I just need to call Michael and ask him, but I think what happened was he just had a really good visit to NC State, and they're just recruiting him well. But he's coming in on the 20th. Another 20th visitor that's going to be, big time is Tamarian Watkins. Now, I've said before, what's the one player you would hate for the Gamecocks to lose? It's Tamarian Watkins. And I can report to you right now, I've talked to a couple of people around the state that think this is the best player in the state. And when all is said and done, he's 6'4", he's 200 pounds, he plays defense. Some like him as a linebacker. I've been hesitant through the years to move guys. And I tell you why. It's because of Will Muschamp. When he was at Florida and I was doing national recruiting, they got some guys like Keanu Neal, who played for the Falcons, would have been the guy that sticks out in my mind. And I always thought, I was like, okay, well, he's a safety now. I'll probably move to linebacker or whatever. Because Keanu was about 210, 215 out of high school. I thought that's what he was going to be. And boy, I was wrong. Because he ended up being not only a safety, but good. And so I'm hesitant about that anyway. And then you had the Crusaders who wanted to move Nick Emanware to linebacker early in his career. And he could have played linebacker and been fine, but why would you risk safety back there? So, I'm hesitant to sit there and go, oh, no, he's a linebacker. But some do say that. But we'll see what happens with him. He's just a freak athlete. He's from Northwestern, which is a high school that always puts out talent, where South Carolina used to not really get the players from. But that's changed through the years as Carolina's Rock Hill establishing inroads in Rock Hill has been huge for this program. I mean, gigantic. They hadn't gotten everybody. You got Darian Kendrick, who played for Clemson and Florida. I mean, and Georgia. I remember Jonathan Meeks was a prep school kid that ended up at Clemson and in the NFL. So they don't get every single player, but boy, they get most of them. And that area is loaded. So if you're going to dominate an area of the state, that's a good one to do. But Rock Hill, Rock Hill kid, you don't want to lose a freak player up there. They got two freak safety corner types. Jazavian Currents is already committed from South Point, and then this guy. He's only a 3-star, just like Desmond Green. If you ask me who are the two most underrated players in the state, it's those two, definitely. Definitely those two. But I've got a check beside his name. I feel good about the Gamecocks landing him. But you got Miami, you got Georgia, Texas A&M. That's stiff competition. But the crystal ball pick is in for South Carolina. I think Hale has one too. No reason to come off of that. But I reserve the right to change that. And I'm not going to be in a good mood if I have to, because, personally, yours truly, Tamarian Watkins is a guy, Tamarian Watkins is a guy that, man, that one would sting. That one would sting. And then finally, in a surprise kind of, Sequel Patterson is now a 2026 recruit, just like Murph and Gidron slid back to 2025. Sequel was 18th in the country, according to 24/7 Sports. Prior to reclassifying, he's now, I think, 111th. Just talking to Alex Jones, who's watched this guy play a lot, he feels like as time moves on, Sequel will rise back up. He said he's that good. Really impressed with him. Gamecocks like him as a wide receiver, although he could play corner. He's listed as an athlete, which, I don't know. I look at him and I'm 80-20 receiver on him. I understand why some would like him as a corner. I don't think that would, to me, I wouldn't put him in the athlete category right now because that's, I don't really think there's any question as to where he'll play, but, stranger things have happened, I suppose. And he's really young. I mean, we could really, if we wanted to, we could start just putting athlete labels on everybody that's young. If we're gonna, we rank them when they're in middle school now. South Carolina offered a middle school player yesterday too, by the way, 8th grade, 2029 class. I heard the kid was really good. Go to thebigspur.com to find out who it is because I didn't write that down either. And a lot of names, right? I believe it starts with a J. I can't shoot. I'd look it up, but I don't have time, folks. Got to get on 107.5 the game here in 20 minutes, and was delayed by Zoom, and then had to pause for a little bit because my dog was going crazy, and he's like, I guess he doesn't like coffee because he's been interrupting quite a bit lately. All right, so I can report to you about Sequel Patterson that I feel very, very, very good about the Gamecocks' chances. That's a very, very, very good. If I had to put how I feel in order, like as far as Carolina's chances, right here on June 10th, the year of our Lord 2025, Sequel would be 1. Watkins would be 2. Walker would be 3. And those are all kind of in one category. And then after that, Aiken. And after that, Green. That doesn't mean they're not getting Aiken or Green. That just means there's more, in my mind, more of a question there. So, and Green, obviously, with Georgia being the competition. And like I said, follow the visits. He's been to Georgia a ton. I mean, I think in my mind, with Desmond Green, it'd probably be hard to tell Georgia no because you've built those relationships. Probably hard to tell Carolina no, too. But we'll see what happens. It'd be good to get a player out of Timberland. I mean, Quentin Washington a few years back was at Timberland, and he was a defensive tackle, and Carolina thought they were getting him the whole way, and then Michigan came in. Like, sometimes Michigan would come in and say some really ugly things about South Carolina and swipe players. Adam Patterson was another player that it happened with. Junior Hemingway I don't. That was a different type of Michigan signee from South Carolina, and Junior ended up being better than all of them. And I wouldn't have said that when they went out, but they come in and do the hatchet job and get these guys. Adam Patterson did nothing at Michigan. He was a defensive tackle out of Richland Northeast back in the day, and then Quentin Washington did absolutely nothing up there either. So there's not a great track record of the Wolverines through the years with kids from South Carolina. Even the running back from Hammond that went up there is already transferred out. Um, I'm not trying to say don't go to Michigan. I'm not recruiting for anybody here, but there is a track record there. But they did get the kid from Timberland way, way back in the day, and I know what they did. The hatchet job, and what the hatchet job is, they start talking about the academics and the opportunity in South Carolina and blah 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 blah. So the same concept of when Lane Kiffin said you'll be pumping gas to Alshon Jeffrey. Wow. And sometimes it's a convincing argument. Michigan's an impressive place, so. Um, but we'll see sort of how that goes down there with regards to you know Desmond Green, because it's not Michigan, it's Georgia. But Michigan, obviously is involved with Carolina. Uh, Defensive end Julian Walker from Dutch Fork, and so you can apply those things there. Anyway, so we've gone back in time. There's my dog again. But yeah, these five are the players to keep an eye on when you're talking about in-state recruiting as we continue on in this 2026 class. Remember, no official visits this weekend. It's the next weekend. Don't forget the third annual Wing Off that next weekend on the 21st at CB 18 Bar and Grill down at 5 Points in Columbia. It's a free event. If you follow Cox by 90 on X or Cocky Hospitality on X, there is an Eventbrite link, and you can link up an RSVP and you get an extra raffle ticket and stuff like that. Going to give away prizes, have a wing eating contest. There's a dunk booth. Come out, support student athletes at Carolina, support NIL, and support Cocky Hospitality and Cox by 90. I mean, those are folks that really love and support South Carolina athletics, and they put on great events and do a great job. All right, the morning show will come up at 10. That is Jamie Bradford's hosting with Mike Morgan. John Strickland's in today to talk ball. Phil and I will try to have a decent show on a losing streak right now based on the technical failures of the last couple of days. So we'll try to have a good show and get into all this recruiting as well. Don't forget thebigspur.com round-the-clock coverage of Gamecock football recruiting for this month. This has been JC Shurburtt with coffee. I got to get on 107.5. Have a great day, everyone, and holla at you soon.